hey/x/, I have a story for you. I can't clearly remember when my grandpa, rest in peace, actually told me about this. The memory kinda popped out sometime after he died. Early 40s. Grandpa was about 10 at the time. Small village in southern Sardinia, poor as frick. To this day the poorest region in Italy. People used to live in houses made of landini, basically a sun-dried mixture of clay mud and hay, some medieval type crap. Grandpa is playing with some friend in the streets. It's getting late and there's a curfew. Time to get home. Grandpa decides to take the long way home, as he was in the mood for a walk. At some point, he hears someone calling his name faintly, almost like a whisper. Freaks him out, so he starts walking faster. He hears it again, this time louder and clearer in the voice of a man without any kind of accent. This is important because us Sardinians have a very strong accent, and if you know about it, it's immediately noticeable. Grandpa also used to have a unique ancient Roman-inspired name his father made up, so there was no mistaking it, yet there was no one in sight. It was also getting darker by the minute. Grandpa is literally clapping his pants at the moment. A strong smoke smell hits his nose, stronger and more pungent than a cigarette. The man calls again, this time followed by a whistle. Right here, Grandpa. Finally, leaning on a short stone wall, Grandpa saw what he described as a distinct-looking man. Clean-shaven, slicked back hair, smoking from a pipe, wearing leather shoes and a long black coat. He was holding a cane in his left hand and a leather pouch in his right. As I said, at the time people were still pretty much medieval peasants in the region, so that must have looked absurdly out of place. Come closer. No, you're going to kidnap me. Absolutely not. I actually have a present for you. He showed Grandpa the contents of the leather pouch. The pouch was allegedly full of gold coins and jewels. Grandpa knows something must be off, yet he's also very tempted. Come on, I'm gonna make you rich. Grandpa finally gives in and starts walking towards the gold. As he was getting closer, the man started to look off. He said what looked like leather shoes were actually goat-like hooves. What looked like a cashmere coat was actually made from black crow feathers. Also, his face looked like stretched out leather, and some mixture of black oil and dirty blood was oozing and dripping from his slicked back hair. His cane also turned into a hissing serpent, crawling in a spiral onto the man's arm. Grandpa was now standing in front of the demonic creature, paralyzed. Its breath smelled like a rotting corpse set ablaze with motor oil. The stench probably worked like ammonia salts, and Grandpa miraculously snapped out of the terror, escaping just a moment before the demon grabbed him by the neck. He made it home running as fast as he can, without ever looking back and praying over his panting breath. Despite all this, Grandpa was still thinking about that gold and didn't sleep that night. Can't blame him, since he found himself eating boiled old leather shoe soles many times. People were that poor? Yes. At about 4:30 a.m. he snuck out of the house and came back to the encounter place looking for the bag. What he found was not what he expected, though. He said he found a canvas sack full of dirt, worms, scrap and some pieces of coal. Up until the day he told me the story, Grandpa remained sure he actually met the devil himself and managed to escape from him. I'm not good at green text, so bear with me. Keep in mind he died in the early 2000s at the ripe old age of 115, and that's what is recorded. Pretty sure he could have been older, since records in the third world aren't exactly reliable. Be my grandpa. Be in late teens, early 20s, live in Latin America, live in a valley, live off farming and mining, be absolutely rural, be absolutely dirt poor. To make you see how backwards that village is, the electricity didn't arrive until the 1970s. No gringos, we aren't in Mexico, there are a lot more countries. In fact, we are closer to Antarctica than to the US. Anyways, to live by, they either farm for most of the year or work in the mines, and I do mean work like in the Middle Ages, with pretty much the same tools, pickaxes and the like, all manual labor. One day, late evening, going out of what I guess was a 14-hour shift in the mine, got to do the daily grind. Other workers are already leaving and preparing to do the roughly 7 kilometers walk back to town, walking down the mountains and through the forest. Graham says he leaves as one of the last of his group to leave, tries to hurry to catch up to the others ahead of him. Doing that walk alone is boring, even more after a long day of hard work and carrying your stuff. I've done it in modern times. I've been absolutely demolished by that walk. Don't know how he did it. and I'm a fairly average guy, 1.73 tall, 65 kilograms. My Gramps was shorter and lighter than me and had to carry his work equipment while I just had to carry my butt. Guess I'm a wuss. Anyways, the group ahead of him is a couple curves down the road. Gramps said he could hear them talking but not see them, trying to walk faster. Suddenly he hears someone calling him from the sides, near the road but behind the trees. As you're guessing, this is a rural area in the middle of nowhere in the third world. Everyone has a strong rural accent, but not this. Said it's a pretty clear, educated, fine voice, like out of the radio with no accent. Gramps pays attention and out comes a finely dressed guy. Also mentions a faint smell out of the ordinary. The man keeps calling my Gramp. Gramp takes a few steps closer. The guy is well groomed, no facial hair, dressed as an aristocrat for the time. Guy tells Gramps he will make him rich if he comes with him. Behind him there are bars of gold. I have to mention the mine was used for copper and gold. However, those weren't processed there, just extracted and sent off to somewhere else. These supposedly were the typical bars of gold you've seen in the media when someone is rich. Gramps notices something is off the man. For starters, what the frick is a rich man doing in the middle of nowhere, in the most rural part of the continent and at the end of a mine shift? Gramps said that the guy started walking closer and began to shape-shift. His breath reeked like cow farts, legs were twisted, skin face looked like dried out leather, clothes turned into feathers, and this mother effer is getting closer to my Gramp. Gramps begins to run as fast as he can. The guys that were ahead are nowhere to be found. Keeps running to the village, catches up to the group of workers that initially were leaving after him and were now pretty close to the village. No one noticed anything strange on the road. Later in the night, the guys that were ahead told him no one noticed anything weird. Gramp is scared crapless, had to go work another day. On the way down, this time with his buddies, decides to go look at the spot where the strange guy was. A dead bird was in the spot the man was. Behind there was just a huge pile of crap in the place of the gold. He told me more stories and encounters with the supernatural, but always told me that one was the first time he faced the devil. I obviously botched the storytelling, but that's roughly what happened, and it scares me that someone, on literally the other side of the world, had pretty much the same encounter.